Hello, welcome back to C Story Corner. Time for Book 9 of my youth romantic comedy As Wrong as I Expected. As a reminder, I'm reviewing the book, not the anime. You know, after how angry the last book left me with some of the characters, Hirosuke-sensei in particular, this one was the complete opposite. Oh, it's still heavy, and there's still a bit going on, but the end, it just leaves you with a smile. Unlike the books leading up to this one that just beat our protagonist down more and more, this one finally leaves Hachiman, as well as Yukino and Yui, in a good place. What makes me really sad is how I have to go back to waiting forever between book releases. Though I'm sure I'll get book 10 before this video gets uploaded. On the plus side, I get to watch the anime now. Yay, 3rd season! Quote, "All things come to an end, and there are no taking back days past. The beginning of this book does an amazing job of making you feel the loss Hachiman's feeling, the death of what was once a lively, vibrant place he nearly belonged. Tear, right? And he recognizes it's not just him feeling this way, but he has no idea how to fix it. Quote, we, had most certainly realized the presence of a visible end, and that's what gave this entirely common sunset such sentimentality. Things continue degrading between Yukino and Hachiman until she comes out and fully rejects him, pretty much telling him not to come to club anymore. Talk about harsh and cold, right? But then, she is the Ice Queen. Anyway, back to the story. Like Book 7, Book 9 is less about exploring particular themes, as it is showing you a parallel between what's happening with Hachiman and the service club and the plot of the story. In this case, a joint Sobu and Kaihin High School Christmas event for the elderly and children in the community. Shortly after becoming school council president, Ishiki finds herself forced into a joint venture with another local high school to produce a Christmas community event. She actually does try tackling it, but it's so far off the rails, she's helpless to do anything to get things rolling. Because of this, she comes to the service club for help. The problem is, things are super tense between our 3 main players. Yukino isn't being herself, wallowing in her own self-pity, and is being pretty selfish and unfair toward the other 2 by withdrawing from them. She doesn't even put on the air of her former self when confronting Ishiki's pleas for help. Yui's working frantically to keep the 3 together, but with the other 2 not making an effort, she ends up just rambling from one topic to another and trying to keep things from becoming contentious between Hachiman and Yukino. And Hachiman? He's reached such a low point of helplessness and depression that the only thing keeping him coming is a desperation not to lose the shattered pieces of the one thing he ever sorta kinda belonged to, the one place he'd been long enough to care about. And he's so anxious about this, he doesn't know what to do besides just keep going until it completely falls apart. His desire to protect what little he has left is his only driving force. Quote, "I also understood. If I said nothing, I'd lose even that hollow room. Hollow as that box was, I still tried to hold on to it. I never thought I'd want something like that. Even if it wasn't real, or wasn't real anymore, he couldn't handle the thought of losing it. So when Ishiki shows up with a student council request, he forces the group to reject it, even though Yui really wants to take it on, even though Yukino was going to accept it. He didn't want to do anything that could hurt Yukino, and shake away the crumbling pieces faster. So he not only forces a no, he physically forces Ishiki out of the room, where he speaks to her privately and takes on the request personally, since he believes he's the one responsible for her being president. And I'd just like to interject here and say, this is totally wrong. Let's go back to an earlier theme from Book 6, taking on responsibility for things you aren't responsible for. First, he's in no ways responsible for Ishiki being president. The girls who pulled the prank getting her name on the ballot are, firstly. Ishiki's teacher for bullying her into not withdrawing is, secondly. And Hirosuke-sensei for not doing her job and reporting the teacher for bullying a student, then taking Ishiki off the ballot anyway, is, thirdly. Seriously, Hirosuke-sensei, get your act together. Though I'm probably more irritated by this due to my own terrible experiences with too many horrible teachers and all the asswipe administrators I've been subjected to. So this might not be as much of an issue for you. Another thing Hachiman is wrongly blaming himself for is Yukino's behavior. It's not his fault Yukino didn't run for president. It's stated quite clearly in the previous book that because no one signed up for student council president, they pushed back the deadline by a good bit. Yukino had plenty of time to decide to run. If she had, those girls who made Ishiki a candidate wouldn't have had the opportunity because the elections would have been over before they came up with the idea. Even if it was an impulse thing, if Yukino truly wanted to be president, she could have just run anyway, regardless of what Hachiman did, or have stated firmly this was what she wanted to do. We've already seen firsthand how forceful she is about things she's set on, so her flippantly accepting and then tossing aside the idea of becoming president shows she didn't really want it. She might have resigned herself to it, but that's not the same thing. Okay, soapbox done. Back to the story. Hachiman joins Ashiki at the committee meeting and sees just how bad things are. Soon enough, Hachiman finds himself dealing with 2 alien environments: the strained, twisted, and hollow clubroom, and now the Christmas committee with Kaihen students who only speak gibberish to avoid substance. To top it off, he also has to deal with Orimoto again. And yes, she's still mocking him and laughing at him at the drop of a hat. What's her problem? He tries supporting Ashiki, but things just go downhill. Kaihen's student council president, an infuriating boy named Tamanawa, quite the mouthful for my little tongue, refuses to listen to anything Hachiman says, and Ashiki won't take a stand. Things just get messier until Hachiman's no longer supporting Ashiki, but doing the job she should be doing. This time, however, Hachiman is able to quickly identify the issue with the committee, because it's the very issue the service club has been struggling with. Quote, "It seemed to me her quiet tone was a preclusion to any further questions. Her answer, vague and incomplete, was an embodiment of our situation. I feel as if we are constantly trying to avoid saying anything decisive." Not only this, but because of what's going on with Yukino, Hachiman ends up second-guessing himself on everything, making it harder to accomplish anything. Quote, "I've made many mistakes. Maybe I was wrong this time, too." Too bad it takes the near crumbling of the event for Hachiman to finally realize he wasn't wrong, that the way Tamanawa was going about things, nothing was going to get done. But that's the thing about confidence. Once it's been shattered, you just don't know anymore, and you get worse than what you had before. And since Hachiman finds himself in the same position with the Christmas committee as he's in with the service club, this really isn't good. What position, you ask? Like the service club, the Sobu High School Student Council starts looking to Hachiman for leadership and direction, placing the onus on him. But this was never his position or his responsibility in either place. He just stepped up and did it because it was forced on him. He did what he thought he had to do. It's not until he's forced to really look at himself and what he wants that things change. And he has quite the task of figuring that out. Quote, "My happiness. Just what the hell is that? What is happiness after all? Hikigaya Hachiman's happiness. Hikigaya Hachiman's wish. Hikigaya Hachiman's desire. I've never sat down and thought about it before. What is happiness to me? What do I want? I have no clue." I feel you, Hachiman. Those are terribly difficult questions to answer. With a few hints from Hirosuke-sensei, who hasn't redeemed herself to me yet, but like I said, I'm probably more biased than most would be here, Hachiman seriously confronts these until he finds an answer he can accept. The only problem is, this answer requires more than just himself, and there's still the Christmas event issue as well. Figuring out as solid of a plan he can, Hachiman heads to the service club to beg for their help with the Christmas committee. Yukino rejects his request, telling him to clean up his own mess alone. But since he agrees everything is his fault, he stands up quietly to leave. Ah, come on, Hachiman! You realize the lack of communication, the refusal to say anything decisive, anything important. That's what's gotten you three to this spot, and the Christmas committee in the mess they're in. So why don't you step up and stop doing that? Ah, poor Hachiman. Just how beaten down are you? Well, it's not entirely bad that he doesn't step up here, because someone else is given the opportunity to grow. Yui, the one who doesn't like confrontation, the one who does everything she can to keep everyone happy and things running smoothly, is the one who steps up and says pretty much what I've been wanting to yell at the two loners for a while now. Thank you, Yui, you've gone up on my list. And what does she say? Quote, "That's not right. Why should you have to do everything yourself? Listen, it's not your individual responsibility, Hiki. Maybe you were the one who thought up the things and carried them out, but we're responsible too. We pushed everything on you. It's not just your fault things ended up this way. It's my fault too. And..." Then she looks at Yukino to insinuate the Ice Queen's role in everything, in how they got to the suffering they were all going through. But Yui doesn't stop there. Thank you, Yui, for calling out Yukino next. Quote, "I think what you're saying is a little dirty, Yukino. Go, Yui, tell it like it is." Hachiman can then admit to himself Yui was right. Quote, "All of us had failed to speak the truth. All of us had failed to say anything we wanted." And this is when Hachiman makes the first move. Completely twisted up and filled with emotions, on the verge of tears, he tells them the answer he found, what he wants, the one thing he's striving so hard to reach, to find. But I'm going to be a meaniehead and make you read the book for the answer, or watch the anime, but that scene is way better in the book. Oof. Getting to this point in the book was kind of emotionally draining, especially with how intense the last few books were. Thankfully, Wataru-san gives the readers a nice break from all the emotional turmoil by sending the three, plus Ishiki and the Populars, to the happiest place on Earth. We get to watch Hachiman, Yukino, and Yui's relationship heal a decent bit by the end of the book. And best of all, at least for my own soul, we get to see Hachiman honestly say he likes himself again. Quote, "The past was a part of what made me who I was. The person Komachi said she likes quite a bit. Don't designate someone's past a wound. This is what makes me charming, and if he's such a charming guy, I might come to love him." Too bad there's also a lot of embarrassment and self-consciousness to overcome as well, but one step at a time. After the three conquer the fakeness they've been clinging to, they're able to properly prepare Ishiki to bash through Kaihen's fake facade and force the committee forward. Tamanawa fights hard against the growing pains Ishiki tries forcing, but with some not-so-gentle help from Hachiman and Yukino, and some classic Yui smoothing things over, things get moving. Now Hachiman and Yukino's relationship is back on track, and so is the Christmas committee. Seeing this just feels really satisfying. And just as the trio's relationship moves pretty smoothly in the right direction, the Christmas event comes together quite well. Everyone enjoys it, and the three are able to return to their club room, feeling pretty good. The room that was once lively, then became hollow, is now filled with something more precious to all three of them. This is symbolically shown by the Christmas gift the two girls present to Hachiman. A teacup, the Japanese style chosen by Yui, and the decoration chosen by Yukino. And I know a teacup doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is. For a long time they didn't offer him any tea, showing him they didn't consider him one of them. Then when they did finally start pouring him some tea, it was in a paper cup, showing he wasn't truly accepted, only tolerated. Now, giving him this cup is the first tangible thing that shows this place isn't just a place he wants to belong, and feels comfortable in. He didn't just carve out a spot that was his within it. He now truly and fully belongs there. He's been accepted by them. What a beautiful end. It really was quite satisfying. Only, it's not the end of the story, and the rest of the books aren't out in English yet. Ah, all the waiting. But I'll definitely do a review on them as they come out. I truly love this series. These characters are so wonderful. Too bad the depth and complexity are beyond what I can cover in a short video. Thank you for sharing these characters with us, Watari-san. And thank you to all of you watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe and healthy, everyone.